This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
7:06 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on to your Wednesday, June 11th of 2025. Brian Wilson joins us as he does every Wednesday at this time, brought to you by the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Brian, always great to have you on. And were you surprised to see that Elon Musk seemingly put out an olive branch to Donald Trump, saying that he regretted some of the posts that he made?
Yeah, I was not surprised. I figured it would eventually happen. Somebody, the thing about Donald Trump and Elon Musk is you got two guys, and there are very few people around them who can say, maybe that's not a good idea. There's nobody who does that for these guys. I mean, these guys are used to doing what they want to do, and they are very similar in many ways. And so for them to eventually have a falling out, I don't think was a big shock. Elon is also, and we don't talk about this a great deal. He's on the autistic spectrum.
Yes.
And sometimes people who are on the autistic spectrum have difficulty with their emotions. And I don't know if this is part of it or not, but one way or the other, it was silly, it was ridiculous, and it needed to back down, and it looks like it has. Whether or not they'll be best buddies again is anybody's guess. But, Elon, I think if I saw a poll that suggested that he's more popular than Trump is. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there you have that. I don't know. I'm glad it's over. It was dumb in the first place. And somebody should have just walked in and said, come on, guys, knock it off. This is not good for the brand.
Well, Scott, they say that, I don't know if you've been reading the New York Times stuff, but New York Times and some other outlets are reporting that Elon actually got into I wouldn't call it fisticuffs, but he sort of body checked
with Scott Bessent, right?
Yeah,
the Secretary of Treasury. Yeah, that is an incredible story, which I haven't heard about. The other thing is that apparently, without asking, there's an old saying: "Don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness."
Yep.
Well, the Doge people set up a Starlink transmitter on the roof of the White House. When they were, at the beginning of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because they felt like we don't have the kind of bandwidth that we need. Mm-hmm. I don't know. They didn't check with anybody. And so, there's some of that kind of stuff that's going on. Look, these are people who think outside the box, and we knew that about both of them. And I'm glad that we have people who think outside the box, because I think if you look at what's going on, it's a distraction from the fact that the right is winning in a very big way. I mean, Trump is making progress with China.
Yeah,
he got a couple of great court rulings yesterday with regard to tariffs and immigration, and and even this thing in L.A. Again, the Democrats have taken on the 20% position, and Trump is seen by the majority of Americans as having done the right thing by sending in troops. So once again, I see a lot of winning here, and that whole fight between Trump and Elon Musk was a distraction from the fact that we really have a lot of good things to talk about.
Brian, we have the mayor of Los Angeles, a woman by the name of Karen Bass. I would describe her by taking the B out of her name. And one of the things that she said yesterday in announcing this curfew is she acknowledged that there's a whole bunch of businesses that were looted and destroyed on the first night or two of these riots in Los Angeles. Well, okay, but then roll the tape. She has been saying that these are peaceful protests for the last many days.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you hear yourself?
Yeah, I know. They always want to try to put the best, face on it. And they're just, completely upset by the fact that Trump has sent in federal troops. Federal troops, as far as I can tell, have laid back, have not engaged. They have surrounded the federal buildings. And that's their main role. And so far, the real action has been between the protesters and the LA Police Department, maybe the Sheriff's Department in some degree. I haven't seen a lot of federal activity out there. It's probably there, but I haven't seen a great deal of it. And so, she was wrong, to suggest that it's a bad idea to try to protect. Trump, learned his lesson, I think, on January 6th. When he offered national troops and they declined.
Yep.
And I think he just decided, I'm never going to be put in that position again. I think he has the authority to do it. I think the courts are going to rule that way, and that this is well within his purview as president of the United States.
So on Friday, to that end, on Friday, we have, of course, as you know, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He has got a court date for Friday. He is, of course, back in Nashville. So there's going to be some protests on Friday. On Saturday, you also have the No Kings rallies or protests where they're protesting President Trump, and the military parade as they celebrate Flag Day, the Army's birthday as well. And they're calling that, again, No King's Day. Do you think these two things, you think they're going to get violent?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't want to predict that they're going to be violence, but let's say this: I wouldn't be surprised if we have some problems Friday and Saturday. And let me say this: when you look at what's going on in L.A., you have to understand that this is not some kind of spontaneous grassroots outcry. This is a highly organized by the left, and they're going to do this. Well, they're already doing it in places like Austin, New York, Dallas, Chicago, and I think we're going to have our dose of it on Friday. You remember the last time we had the BLM protest, they turned into the BLM riot, and they tried to burn down the courthouse. And so I don't think that my personal feeling is that the leadership of the police department did not do the right thing in protecting the city from what turned out to be a very ugly affair. They didn't have a good plan. They laid back. They didn't move in until the last second. Yep. By that time, they were trying to set fire to the courthouse. They were trying to set fire to downtown. There was even an attempt to set fire to the Ryman, and they didn't account themselves, I think, very well with the planning that they had there. And I think that was the leadership saying, we don't want to escalate the thing, but by pulling back, it escalated. So I think that when you look at what's going on in LA, you have to understand this is the people that are out there protesting in LA. Mm-hmm. They are not illegal aliens.
No.
I mean, let me just if you're an illegal alien, that protest is the last place you want to be.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get arrested if you go down there and your papers are not in order. And so, this is organized by the left. This is the anarchists, and they like to stir problems. And, it would not shock, stun, or amaze me if we see, that kind of activity on Friday and Saturday here in Nashville. My question, and the thing I'm wondering is, are the State Patrol, are they going to pre-deploy?
I hope they do.
And are they going to, like they did, during the BLM, they pre-deployed. Yep. And then were called in, when it got bad.
And remember, everybody got upset because they were wearing riot gear?
Yeah.
Remember that whole thing?
Yeah. Listen, if you're going to be throwing things at me, I'm going to be wearing my riot gear.
Yeah.
That's just all there is to it. So I think that's the question. Will the State Patrol pre-deploy to back up the Nashville Police Department? I read where the police department is. So, well, we're aware of it. Okay.
Yeah.
But what are you doing? And are you going to be more upfront and visible than you were during the BLM riots, which went really badly, I think.
Well, you're going to have the two Justins out there, Brian. You're going to have Glow Joe out there as well. And so, they're going to have their little bullhorns and all that other kind of stuff. Yep. Hopefully, it doesn't end up in violence.
Yeah, we can only hope that it won't. But what you say, you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best.
Hey, I've got some. You're right, Brian. Okay, I got to jump to traffic, but I've got big news on China straight ahead. 7:15. Yep. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Glencliff, 24 westbound under Briley Parkway South. We've got an accident blocking the two right lanes. Talbot's Corner, 65 southbound at 24 downtown. There's an accident in the Gore. No problems on 40 or 440. No unusual delays on 840. I'm Christy O'Brien.
Weather today, a high of 89 and sunny. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Donald Trump commenting, our deal with China is done, subject to final approval with President Xi and me. He says, and I'm reading this for the first time, he says full magnets and any necessary rare earths will be supplied up front by China. Likewise, we will provide to China what was agreed to, including Chinese students using our colleges and universities, which has always been good with me. He also says we're getting a total of 55% tariffs. China is getting 10%. He says the relationship is excellent. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I guess that was posted just a few minutes ago. So I would expect anyway that now the futures, the markets aren't open yet, but the futures, I would assume they're going to skyrocket over this. What do you think?
Well, this is a very good development. And again, this was probably the most difficult of the trade deals to try to negotiate. And it looks like that Trump and Xi have come to some kind of agreement. I think there's still some T's to cross and I's to dot, and things could still fall apart, but it feels pretty good. And we have a UK agreement. There are other agreements in place. And the courts have said, at least it looks like for the next 2 months, there's not, they've been saying, well, we're going to look at this, but you go ahead and do what you need to do during that time period. Well, a lot of progress can be made in 2 months before this comes back up in a court the way it feels. So I think real progress here. And again, I see everything that I look at. It tells me that, with the tariffs that are going to be in place and the trade deals that are going to be going, the whole goal was just to get people to the table and renegotiate what have been some very bad trade deals for the United States. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. And I'm glad to see that progress has been made. If you get progress with China, a lot of other people, I think, will jump in line.
Oh, it would be stunning if this is one of the first deals that actually gets done.
Yeah. That apparently Trump is going to go to China or Xi is going to come to the United States. That is a big dog deal. That doesn't happen every day. And it'll be interesting to see whether or not that relationship is going to be, it's in our best interest to have a better relationship with China.
Yep.
Because quite frankly, the last thing we want is for China to go off and do something stupid in Taiwan. And I think we have a better chance of avoiding that if we have a better relationship with China.
Well, I think it's keep your enemies closer.
Yeah.
I think that's part of what's going on. All right, real quickly. We do have Gavin Newsom, and you know that he made a big speech last night, Brian. And a lot of people are actually saying that Gavin Newsom, this was almost like a speech that one would make if they're getting ready to launch a presidential campaign. Listen to this.
Look, this isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived. He's taking a wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project. 3 co-equal branches of independent government.
So, and then he ends up talking about a litany of things that he accuses Donald Trump has done. He also, by the way, invoked the January 6th. So, I don't know. You think, number one, is he gearing up for a run? I can't believe that he would. Number 2, because his state is trash. His state is absolute trash.
Yeah, the problem is that Democrats just don't have a great bench. And he's on the bench. There's no doubt about it. He's one of the people that Democrats would turn to, I would think.
Yeah.
But honestly, their options are not good. Every single person that you name, there are real issues with that, with who they might pick. Listen, he's on the wrong side of this, and Democrats are on the wrong side of it. Yep. I saw a poll where it said that Americans, by a margin of 59 to 39, believe that it was the right thing for Trump to send federal troops into L.A. So again, winning and they're losing, and who are we supporting? Law enforcement. Our side is, we're law and order and we're not going to have chaos on the streets. And their side is we're defending a bunch of reprobates. And so I don't know. Once again, they have glommed on to the position that is the weakest with the American people.
You're right.
And Trump is brilliant at boxing him into that corner where they have to, because anything that he's for, they're going to be against. And the thing is that a lot of things that Donald Trump is for, the American people are for. And a lot of things that the Democrats are for, the American people are not for. So, this is they're just going down the road to ruin, and Donald Trump has been brilliant at boxing them in and forcing them to take the unpopular position.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. As always, we got like a minute left. You got anything else you want to talk about? You want to talk about Ed the Zebra? Got any thoughts on Ed?
I thought it was great fun to watch the zebra thing and all the memes that took place. And, what an amazing thing to, pluck this little zebra up with a helicopter and deliver him in a net. That was quite bizarre. But, it was fun to watch for a while. And we need a break every once in a while with some silly story that catches everybody's attention. And this was one, and I enjoyed it immensely.
All right. Brian, as always, great talking to you. Have a great rest of week. And we'll talk again in a week, if not sooner.
I just want to say I'm going to be filling in for Chris Hand on Friday at 9:00 when this whole thing is supposed to kick off in downtown Nashville. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
I happen to know, Brian, that there's at least one, maybe even two WTN talk show hosts that are going to be down there.
Good. Well, then I'll have people calling in, no doubt.
All right, very good. 722 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.